Lately, I've been thinking a lot about inflation. No, not as a nerdy economist who would say something like it's a continuous sustained increase in the general price index, but more how it plays out in terms of the goods we regularly purchase. So for example, in the last 2 years, gasoline's gone from a little more than $2 to somewhere more than $3 and maybe more. That's a 43% increase. In the last year, eggs are up 49%, utilities are up 14%, and rent more than 7%. These are real increases that cause pain and struggles for those who can least afford it. Yes, naturally you think about senior citizens, but also don't forget about veterans and service members who can't afford to pay these increases. And then I see a posting from Peter Basica on LinkedIn that talks about military family members being forced to rely on food pantries. And when you print the article, you see a picture of a military spouse going into a food pantry to feed her kids. This is so disappointing. And then I'm talking to Sarah Bumgardner of AFMA, who tells me this disappointing statistic. 49% of service members have less than $500 in emergency funds. And then Mike Stoddard from Wounded Warrior Project sends me their annual survey. And in it, 64% of the warriors report in the last year that they've been unable to meet their financial needs. And asked why, 82% of them say is the increase in gas and food and housing and the like. So, if you're a veteran or you know somebody who's struggling with these kind of financial situations, be aware that there are organizations that provide emergency financial assistance. Wounded Warrior does, and you can call their resource line at that number, and many of the other VSOs do. American Legion, VFW, and DAV to name a few. A couple organizations that I know, and I know there are more, Coalition to Salute America's Heroes, and the Air Force Aid Society. And I know there are others, so please leave them in the comments if they provide emergency financial assistance. Many, but not all, State Department of Veterans Affairs do. And if this emergency financial situation is pushing you to the cusp of homelessness, be aware that there is money from the VA to deal with homelessness and the prevention of homelessness. And you can call the homeless hotline at 877-424-3838. Now, it's important to think about how these organizations have money to be able to help others. And that's because people provide it to them. And so it begs the question of what can we do? Well, we can donate money to these organizations. If I ask veterans, would you give up 1 cup of coffee per month and donate that money to help a veteran? I'm sure 100% of the people would say yes. You can contribute food. Every time my wife and I go shopping, we buy a couple extra items and give it to the food bank at church. You can volunteer. If you help in a food kitchen and serve meals, unfortunately, you will probably end up serving some veterans, but you can do things like that, or simply find a way to get involved. Now, veterans are really good at helping other veterans, and we see this on LinkedIn all the time. Someone says, help me find a job, look at my resume, help me prepare for an interview, and lots of veterans respond. But now is the time to think about veterans who are struggling financially, and they won't be posting on LinkedIn. I've been thinking a lot lately about how inflation is a big challenge to our community, and ask that you consider what you can do to help.